Welcome and hello. This is a support video for HEC ResSim, and in this video, I'm titling it Pumping Twice Per Day, because what I'm going to do is attempt to solve the problem where I have a single pump station and I want to operate it, turn it on and off two different times during the same day. So what I have on the screen here is a network, and I built it out from scratch, and you can see how that was done if you check out exercise 16 called Pumps in the HEC ResSim exercise playlist on this channel. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that video in the description of this video. But anyway, just a quick summary of what happened there. We have an upstream reservoir here and a downstream reservoir here. There's an upstream node at CP1 and CP8. They both provide a constant 500 CFS inflow. However, the release from this upstream reservoir is greater than 500 CFS on average. So it is not able to maintain the constant guide curve elevation. And that's why I have a pump here to pump water from the downstream reservoir into the upstream reservoir. So we have a base case with no pumping. And then I have a trial one here called pump, which has 4 hours of pumping. Let me go ahead and open that up. Click on reservoirs. Reservoir one is my upstream reservoir, and we have pump right here. So we just have one pump pumping for 4 hours. And then here is the physical tab, and the pump data is right here. We actually have two pumps in the pump station, so we could run one pump longer or two pumps for the same amount of time or two pumps longer. But anyway, what I want to do here is add more pumping. And what I'm doing right now will not work. So if I say I wanted two pumps to operate from noon to 4 p.m., in addition to the one pump running from the beginning of the day, midnight, until 4 a.m., then this is not going to work. And you're welcome to check it out yourself, but I don't want to demonstrate that in this video. What I want to do is just demonstrate what worked for me when I was using if blocks as a solution. So let's go ahead and apply and OK and close this up. What I want to do is start with the solution, go right click on my trial one. I'm going to create a new trial here. I'm going to just call this pump 2 and then click OK. Now pump 2, trial 2 is active. I'm going to right click and edit. Now let's go ahead and click on reservoirs and then select reservoir 1 here. This is the reservoir with the pump station. Let me just move this over and then click on the operations tab. Now I'm going to remove this pump rule. So I'll click remove from all zones. Okay. And now let's start with that if statement. So it doesn't matter if I select conservation zone or flood control zone as long as it's an active zone, because whatever I build, I'm going to eventually apply to all the zones, just like rules are. But this time it's going to be an if statement. So right click on the zone of choice and then add if block. I'll call this 0-4, so just representing the first 4 hours of the day, and click OK. For the name, I'm just going to, again, go 0-4 and then click on Add Condition. All right, so down here in the controls, I'm building my conditional statement. I'm going to say current time step is greater than, and then hour of day, and then 400. Sorry, no, 0 o'clock. I'm sorry, midnight. There we go. And then click Add Condition. So this is our next row. Now for the logical operator, I'm going to say and then as before, I'll say the current time step is going to be at most, and then time of day, and then now I'll type in 4 a.m. So I'll click Apply. Now I want to add my pumping situation. So add new rule. I'll call this pump 0-4, and then that will be applied to the pump schedule, and OK. Okay, so I need to fill out some data here, such as the target fill elevation. I'll set that to the top of the conservation zone. I'll set reservoir 2 as my source reservoir. That's the downstream reservoir where the water's coming from. And then for the date, now I could type in the first 4 hours. I already have that time range right here. So I could literally just say the entire day, but it still won't pump unless it's within this 4-hour time window. I'll say 1 unit right there. Okay. Click apply. Now I want to do the same thing for later in the day, a second time window. So what I'll do is click on the flood control zone, right click, and then add if block. So we've already done this, but I'm just doing it a second time. Now I'm going to call this 12-16. Okay. If condition, and then add a condition. Current time step is going to be greater than hour of day and 1200. Add a condition, logical operator, and And then we're going to go with current time step. This is going to be at most and time of day and 1600. Okay, apply. And now right click, add a rule. I'll call this pump and then 12 to 16. This is going to be for 2 pumps. I should probably call it pump 2. Yeah, it's fine. And then it'll apply to the pump schedule, and okay. As before, I need to specify the target fill elevation. So let's set it to the conservation zone again, reservoir 2, okay. Then we'll start on January 1st, and then 2 pump units and apply. I also need to copy the if rule to the other zone. So right click and then add if block to all zones. That's from 0 to 4 a.m. And then 12 noon to 4 p.m. I'm going to go right click, add if block to all zones. Okay. So click OK. All right, let's go ahead and see if this works here. Right click and compute our trial 2 with 2 pumps. And I'm going to check all 3 checkboxes on here. So we're going to compare the results with no pumping. And then trial 1 is a 1 pump for 4 hours. And then trial 2 here is going to be 1 pump for 4 hours and then 2 pumps for 4 additional hours later in the day. So let's take a look at reservoir 1, right click, plot. All right, had to resize and zoom in a little bit. Okay, cool. So this is sort of what I was expecting here. In this top plot, I've zoomed in, and this is the entire 30-day, 31-day month. In green here, we have the trial with no pumping, and then the red line is the water surface elevation with pumping, and then the blue for just 1 pump, and then blue is the last trial that we added with additional pumping. 1 pump in the morning, and then 2 pumps for 4 hours in the afternoon. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this lower plot now. So I'm going to zoom in on maybe just the first week or so. And this is the required minimum release. It's always an active constraint. So what I'm going to add here is the amount of pumping. So if I go up to plot, select variables. Let me make this a little bit larger here, and then scroll down to the pump flow rate. And then I'm going to click on the y-axis to add it to that lower region. So this is region 1 up here, region 2 down here. Click add and then click apply and then OK. I'm going to zoom in here again on just the first week, first 5 days or so. And you can see barely, click on the arrow pencil here. So it looks like, yeah, we have about 222 CFS of pumping. That's for the first 4 hours in the afternoon from noon to 4 p.m. And then down here we have about 113 CFS of pumping. That's 1 pump operating from midnight to 4 a.m. So let's see here. Here's the yellow line. You can see it a little bit easier there. And then here's for 2 pumps. This is the blue line for 1 pump. If we want to take a look at that data, you can go up to File and then Tabulate. Okay, a lot of different data sets here, but in the far right, you can see the 2 pumps pumping at about 222 CFS, and then 1 pump operating at about 113 CFS. So 4 hours at a time, it just repeats day after day. And then the water surface elevation you can see is still slowly decreasing. Actually, it looks like it's decreasing here, increasing, decreasing, yeah, decreasing based on whether the pumping is taking place or not. All right, well, that is it for this support video. What we did was had a pump station pump from one reservoir pool up to another reservoir pool, and specifically we used if statements, the if block statements here, to be able to operate the same pump station multiple time windows during the same day.